Greetings, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining the Arsht Center and Broadway across America for this, our very first virtual town hall. My name is Johan Zietzman. I'm the president and CEO of the Adrienne Arsht Center here in Miami-Dade County. I hope you and yours are staying healthy and safe during this time. And all of us at the Arsht Center, I have to tell you, just miss you tremendously. We can't wait to see our artists back on stage and you back in the seats. But for now, we're sorry that can't happen yet. We're taking all possible steps to make sure that when the time is right, we are prepared to welcome you back safely and enjoy live performances again. I know you have a lot of changes that you've seen happening to our season, and you have a lot of questions. So we are here today to share with you a little bit about why all these changes are happening and answer some questions that have been submitted by you. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome a guest with me today, our great partner in bringing the best of Broadway to Miami, Susie Kreiser. Susie is the president of Broadway across America. Welcome, Susie.
Hi, Johan. It's great to be with you. I'd like to just start by thanking all of our subscribers and all of our Broadway fans for sticking with us. We are so grateful for your loyalty and support. And we have been working really hard to bring live theater back to the Arsht Center. And a large part of that process has been the constant communication with the producers and show representatives for all of the touring shows. I have to say this process, it's like a complex jigsaw puzzle where all the pieces of the puzzle in all the markets across North America have to fit. So tonight we're going to pull back the curtain and share with you some of the challenges that we are facing in getting shows back on the road.
Thank you, Susie. And the puzzle it is, and we'll talk about that puzzle in a moment. But right now, let's start with where we are right now here in Miami. As all of you know by now, during our run of Hamilton this last March, which feels like years ago, all events at the Arsht Center had to stop. We've been closed under the mayor's emergency orders and have not been able to open since then. We've had to cancel or postpone more than 200 shows in our season, and this has taken a significant toll on all the people who work here and make the magic happen, our staff, our artists, and of course our volunteers, but the impact reaches even beyond that. In a typical year, you might be interested to know the Arsht Center generates over $55 million in economic impact. So you can imagine the 300 local vendors, the neighborhood restaurants, the downtown businesses, and more have all been impacted. During this shutdown period, we got creative. That's what we do. And pivoted immediately from being a largely presenting organization, presenting on stage, to producing online content, which we've been posting every single week since March on our Arsht at Home page. Thankfully, the health of our community is improving, and there's now light at the end of the tunnel. Just last week, the Miami-Dade County lifted the emergency order, and the Arsht Center can once again have events on our campus and in the community. But these events are subject to health and safety restrictions, such as social distancing, masking, etc. And we talk about that period as the intermediate period. During this period, we can't do big shows yet. As you can imagine, it's impossible to present big musicals with a big cast or a full symphony orchestra to large crowds while the need for social distancing remains. We know you have questions about this, and we will tell you a little bit more about why that is a little later. But this intermediate period is a huge step forward in bringing life back to our campus and in bringing you entertainment and inspiration. So until we can open for full capacity audiences, all activities that we will be doing in the intermediate period will require limited capacity, masks, and distancing. We will have details about our reopening plans ready for you in late October. It's important that you know that our focus continues to be to keep everyone safe. And we're putting into place quite a few changes and safety measures to ensure the safety of all of you, our artists, our staff, and our volunteers. We're working directly with state, city, and county health officials to guide our plans for reopening. And our reopening plan has already been approved by the county, so we are ready. Our health partners are helping us to ensure that we execute procedures and protocols that keep you as safe as possible. The situation obviously continues to evolve, and so our safety protocols will keep changing. But right now, the things we have put in place already include we've upgraded our air filtration systems, we've increased sanitizing of high touch areas throughout the venue. This is done at least daily. And we've started with some new initiatives in ticketing, which will provide a touchless experience. Mask wearing in our venues will be mandatory, and we are closely following developments with rapid testing. We are hopeful that rapid testing could become an additional safety measure soon. As soon as we have all the details ready for reopening, we will clearly communicate with you what you can expect when you come back to the theater. As you can imagine, COVID-19 has made everything more complicated. And that also applies to organizing and planning Broadway tours. Many stars have to align for you to be able to see your favorite show. So Susie, tell us a little bit about what it's like putting a Broadway season together.
Johan, you're exactly right. I mean, we are all living in very complicated times, and that applies to the Broadway business as well. The reality is that social distancing just will not work for live theater. And there are many reasons for that, not the least of which is the energy and the excitement that you experience when we are all together in the theater. Additionally, there are significant financial risks that contribute to why we cannot social distance for live theater. So because of all these challenges and out of the care and concern for everyone's health and safety, we have had to postpone the engagements of Wicked and Dear Evan Hansen. So what that means right now is that we are planning for Broadway in Miami to resume performances in May with the beautiful production of Anastasia. Look, I know that everyone has a lot of questions and there have been a lot of changes. So we've asked two of our colleagues who are in the middle of this whole process to record some thoughts for us to share with you. Up first is Sue Frost. She's the Tony Award-winning producer of Come From Away and Memphis the Musical. Sue will share some behind-the-scenes information on what it takes to produce a Broadway show.
Hi, I'm Sue Frost, and I'm the producer of the musical Come From Away. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the challenges we producers are facing as we look toward bringing our shows back to the road. The most important thing for us right now is, of course, health and safety of our company and of the audience. To talk a little bit about the challenges we have keeping our company safe, my show, Come From Away, is a relatively small show, which means we travel with about 60 people. And that means we have to think about their safety as we move from city to city, whether we're on an airplane or whether we're on a bus. We have to think about moving in and out of hotels. What are those hotels like? Do they have safety protocols? Are they cleaned regularly? We're working with the unions who are very concerned about their members and making sure that when they come back, they're in a safe environment. And then when we're at the theater, we're backstage together, we're in dressing rooms together, we're interacting with your local crews. Some of our orchestras are interacting with local musicians in a crowded orchestra pit. How do we protect everyone? So all of those things are things that we think about and we're working on and trying to develop a plan so that when we do come back, we can stay back and we can keep everybody performing. Remounting our show is going to present its own set of challenges, but nothing like the challenges that a brand new show is going to face, because not only do they have to put a show up from scratch and cast it and rehearse it and costume it and build the scenery, all of that has to happen in a safe environment, in an environment where people are protected and where we know that the end result is going to be realized in a timely fashion. It's a lot to think about, but think about all of these tours as their own worlds, and they travel around from place to place with truckloads of scenery and costumes and props and all of the actors and stage managers and company managers and band and crew and all of those little pieces that have to go back together again. And we have to know that the scenery's running smoothly, the costumes still fit, and the lights and the sound equipment are still working. One of the reasons it's going to take us a while to come back is we need to come back to full houses. The experience of sharing a Broadway show between the actor and the audience is unique and special. And socially distanced audiences are not going to create anywhere near the same feeling that a house full of people laughing, crying, clapping does. It is also not possible for us to make this work financially. We need to know that we can accommodate all of the subscribers in the week that we're in town. We need to know that we can meet our financial model and what it takes for us to travel from town to town, what it takes for us to present the show. That financial model requires full houses. But mostly it is that relationship between our actors, between our performers and you, and the energy that that you both feed off of creates that unique experience, which is a Broadway show. But we're going to get there. Don't you worry, we're going to get there.
Sue mentions that the show travels city to city. That means that the cast and crew travel by bus or by plane, and the sets, costumes, and props all travel in tractor trailers. So depending on the size of the show, a producer needs 30 to 40 weeks of 8 performances per week in order to just break even on the costs to mount a tour. Those weeks need to be contiguous, and the tour needs to move across the country in a manner that makes sense geographically. As I said earlier, routing a tour across the country is like a big jigsaw puzzle, and that process is typically done 18 to 24 months in advance. The entire industry has been working tirelessly to reroute the 40 Broadway shows that tour across the US and Canada in a typical year. So here to tell us a little bit more about how tours cross the country is Meredith Blair, president of the booking group.
Hi, my name is Meredith Blair. I'm the president of the booking group, and I represent the national tours of Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Come From Away, Mean Girls, the Book of Mormon, To Kill a Mockingbird, and many others. And I'm here to talk to you about the process of booking a tour. So to start with the basics, in order to get a show from point A to point B, you have to determine the size of the show, which determines how quickly you can travel. One of our objectives is to open in a given city on a Tuesday and close on a Sunday. Needless to say, some markets are closer to each other than others. Shows travel anywhere from a 3 to a 4 truck show to 25 to 30 trucks. Those are the big blockbusters. Generally speaking, most touring shows travel in anywhere from 5 to 8 trucks. The challenges of routing a tour are the availability of the venues. So if I'm starting in Buffalo, the next logical thing would be to go to Rochester or to go to Cleveland, but the venue that I need to go to next may not be available because they've got another show then, or the symphony is in the venue then, or there's a graduation, or there's any number of things or other commitments that the venue may have that don't make it available. So one of the challenges now in the current climate in booking a contiguous tour is that we don't necessarily have any consistency in what states are open when. So if I'm trying to get a show across the country, I need to know that I can get from Ohio to Iowa and that the states in between are open for business. But that's one of the many challenges that we're all trying to face in many different walks of life, not just in the theater business. The process has changed a little bit for us. No, it's changed a great deal for us over the past several months, having to deal with the shutdowns across the nation. So we are actively trying to put the pieces of the puzzle back together multiple times as the landscape keeps changing and as the timing keeps changing and as we continue, unfortunately, to live in a world where we don't have all the answers yet. So we're dealing with that reality, and we're booking and we're rebooking, and we will continue to rebook until we can get these shows back on the road and back to your cities. That's the goal.
Thank you, Susie and Sue and Meredith, for that great information. and for really lifting the curtain a little bit about how complex it is. I hope some of your questions have been answered, but now we will answer some more questions that have been submitted by our community. The first question is a common question. Many of you have asked this question about social distancing. Will there be social distancing when we return? Will you reconfigure seating? Will you open at 25% capacity, etc.? The answer is, as you've heard earlier, when we open for the intermediate period, that is before we can do the big shows, capacity and other restrictions will continue to apply. And as you've heard from Sue Frost, we really cannot do Broadway shows with social distancing in place. Susie, I'm sure you have something to say about that.
Sure. I mean, the fact is that the nature of live theater just doesn't allow for social distancing. It doesn't work on stage between actors, and it doesn't work in the audience. And it's just not financially viable. Broadway has always been a financially risky business. So every show really needs to have the opportunity to sell every available seat for that financial model to work. And a big part of the theater going experience is the interaction that we all have with each other and with the actors on stage. That energy, it just isn't the same when you have to spread out.
There's just nothing like that moment before the curtain lifts and 2,000 other people sharing that moment with you. Our second question comes from Ray. Ray wants to know if the pandemic is still upon us in 2021, will the shows go on as scheduled? And if so, will mask wearing be required? Well, Ray, the safety and health of our audience, as we said earlier, our artists and our staff will remain number one. We hope to be able to present the full Broadway season in 2021, and we're working hard to reschedule shows to ensure that we can welcome you back to the Arsht Center when it's safe to do so. But if we have to cancel any performance at any time for any reason, the value of your tickets is safe. And you will have the option, as always, to receive a credit or a refund, or you would be able to donate the value of your ticket to the Arsht Center. In terms of masks, the CDC continues to recommend mask wearing as a significant way to slow the spread. So we do anticipate that masks will be required to be worn at all times in the venues. This is another question that we've heard from people. They ask something like this: we are at risk and we do not feel comfortable returning until there's a vaccine. But we've been subscribers for 15 years. We don't want to lose our seats. Are you going to allow us to hold on to our locations? Susie, I'm sure you can answer that.
This is a common question that we get, and we completely understand your concern. That's why we're doing everything that we can to keep everyone as safe as possible. I would just ask that right now, if you could just be patient, hold on to your seats, and then make that determination based on the circumstances when we are able to reopen. And when we do reopen, if you are still uncomfortable, we will be more than willing to work with you and help you manage your subscription. But I wanted to stress what Johan just said. If we need to cancel any performance at any time for any reason, the value of your ticket is safe.
Thank you, Susie, for underlining that. I know a lot of folks are thinking about that. Here's another question from Robert. Robert is asking, are you considering live streaming performances for those who are not expected to be able to attend in-person performances for the foreseeable future? And he says, as the question suggests, we very much hope you are. Well, Robert, I can just say thank you for your eagerness to see our shows. It's great to hear that. We can't wait either. As to live streaming, Robert, Broadway shows will not be streamed, but some of our other shows may be available online depending on each show. And we will make this information available at the time. As I mentioned earlier, we've become significant producers of online weekly content on our Arsht at Home page. I hope you'll check that out if you haven't done so yet. You can also sign up on for our email list or update your email preferences to hear all about our new virtual events and activities that you can enjoy at home. Here's a question from Ellie, Susie, and I'd like you to answer Ellie's question. Ellie's asking, if COVID numbers dramatically decrease, is there a possibility that the Broadway start date will be pushed up?
Well, Ellie, unfortunately, that is unlikely. All of the stars would have to align, as I mentioned earlier. It typically takes 1.5 to 2 years to route a show, and we are already working on an accelerated timeline to bring shows back. There's so many elements involved in presenting a show, and those elements are all woven into the entire route across the country. So it would be difficult to unravel one part in order to start earlier in a certain city.
Thank you, Susie. We have two related questions from Mo and from Lara. Mo wants to know, why can't you just open the venue back up already and just require everybody to wear masks? And Lara wants to know, will CDC guidelines continue to be followed regarding COVID-19, even though our governor has put Florida in phase 3? So Mo and Lara, the answer is, in order to ensure the health and safety of everybody, we will continue to follow the guidelines provided by the CDC and the Miami-Dade County, and they currently require social distancing and limited capacity. Here's a question from Consuelo. What else can we do to accelerate the opening of the Arsht Center again? Consuelo, I love that question. You're eager, we're eager, we all want to get back soon. One of the most important things you can do is to take any and all steps to keep yourself, your family, and your community healthy and safe. That includes wearing a mask, safe distancing, washing your hands regularly, etc. We've seen how well that has worked in Miami-Dade over the past month in bringing the numbers down. And then please also continue to support the Arsht Center by attending events, whether they're virtual or in person, by advocating for the arts among your community and friends, and if you can, investing in an arts organization that really matters to you. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for questions. We really appreciate your questions and your interest and your concerns. I hope you're more informed now. Susie, do you have any final words?
Sure, I just want to thank all of our subscribers and all of our Broadway fans for joining us. I hope we provided some insights and background for all of you to more fully understand the behind the scenes logistics that are required for us to welcome you back to the Arsht Center. Again, we appreciate you for sticking with us, and I promise you, Broadway will be back.
Hear, hear, Susie. Thank you again, Susie, for joining me today, and to your colleagues at Broadway across America for this great and long-standing partnership that brings Broadway to Miami. We appreciate you very, very much. The Arsht Center remains committed to connecting our community to the arts and to each other. We want to open as soon as we can, but for now, we're doing that virtually. Soon, we will host small, socially distanced events. And in Miami, we will soon see all of our Broadway subscribers starting in May with Anastasia. There may still be some uncertainties, but what we do know is that we will return. We're so very grateful to our series presenting sponsor, Bank of America, and our generous supporters from Nicholas Children's Hospital and Broadway Across America, who is both a partner and a supporter. These organizations have been by our side through thick and thin. We appreciate you very much. Thank you. And to all of you, fans and our subscribers, we deeply appreciate your willingness to be flexible, your patience, and we thank you for sticking with us. Soon we will gather again for your favorite theater experiences. And I guarantee you, it'll be worth the wait. Thank you and goodbye.